Before he gained fame and before he became president, before he became a force that inspired both admiration and misunderstanding, there was a man devoted to ideas. He was not born into politics. He was not born into a privileged family. He was born into a family full of questions about life, ambition, and destiny. His name was Emmanuel Jean-Michel Frédéric Macron. And long before the world saw him as president, he was a dreamer from the small French town of Amiens, a child obsessed with books and human ideas. While others played different games, he read philosophy. He memorized poems instead of song lyrics. He questioned everything and believed that thinking itself was a form of rebellion. This is the story of a man who believed that intelligence would shape history and that empathy, not ideology, could be the source of power. But his journey to the Élysée Palace began in politics, not in Paris, but in a classroom at a small school, where he met a woman who would forever change his life. And years later, when France was divided and lost its way, that same child, now a man, rose to lead it. Emmanuel Macron was born on December 21st, 1977, in Amiens, a quiet city in the north of the country. His father, Jean-Michel, was a neurologist, a man known for his methodical, scientific, and rational approach to his work. His mother, Françoise, was a doctor of social sciences, a curious, sociable, and warm-hearted woman. They raised him in a home where intelligence was seen as ordinary, not extraordinary. But Emmanuel was different, a restless, overly imaginative, and endlessly curious child. He devoured books: Plato, Nietzsche, Rousseau, Proust. At 12, he constantly argued with his teachers at school. At 15, he wrote essays on love and morality. A childhood friend recalls, "He never argued with anyone to win. It wasn't about winning. He argued with people to understand Amiens was a small, safe, and predictable place." But Macron's thoughts and ideas were too broad to fit within the streets of this city. He dreamed of Paris, not as a city, but as an idea. His intelligence caught the attention of teachers, writers, and many others, but it particularly caught the attention of one woman. Her name was Brigitte, his teacher, his mentor, his future. At La Providence High School, Emmanuel joined the theater class taught by Brigitte. Brigitte was very elegant, charming, married, and 24 years older than him, but he noticed something extraordinary about her. It all began with theater workshops, poetry readings, and hours-long conversations about art and life. Then it turned into something much deeper. Brigitte discovered his brilliant intellect. Emmanuel saw in her someone who understood him completely, a mirror. Together they created, debated, and dreamed. When his parents heard about the relationship, they sent him to Paris. But the distance only deepened his determination. At 17, he told her, "Whatever you do, I'll come back and marry you." And 13 years later, he returned and married her. Their love proved that intellect and emotion could coexist. If the goal was real, breaking the rules didn't matter to them. In Brigitte, he found not only love, but also balance. Brigitte balanced his ambition and determination and complemented his intellect. Paris, 1995, the city of light. For Emmanuel Macron, Paris was the symbol of awakening. He studied philosophy at the Sorbonne, reading Aristotle in the mornings and Derrida at night. His mind oscillated between logic and emotion. He wrote his thesis on Machiavelli and Hegel, exploring the place of ethics in politics, a thought that would accompany him throughout his career. His professors described him as intelligent but unpredictable. He charmed intellectuals and challenged authority. But Macron's ambitions were not limited to books. He wanted not only to write his theories, but also to test them. Therefore, he entered France's most elite institution, the École nationale d'administration, an educational institution that trains the country's future leaders. There, surrounded by bureaucrats and future ministers, Macron was a poetic, idealistic, and unusual outsider. He believed that leadership should come from understanding people, not hierarchy. He once told a classmate, "Politics shouldn't just be about governing. It should be about inspiring people." After graduating, he could have entered government. Instead, he made an unexpected choice. He stepped into the world of banking. He wanted to experience how power truly worked, not in books, but in balance sheets. 2008, the collapse of banks shook the world to its core. But for Emmanuel Macron, it was like a new lesson in risk, numbers, and negotiations. He joined Rothschild & Company, one of France's most powerful and prestigious investment banks. There, he applied philosophy to finance. And it worked. He excelled in diplomacy, persuasion, and strategy. He made his breakthrough when he advised Nestlé on its multi-billion-dollar acquisition of Pfizer's infant formula division, a deal that made him millions in one fell swoop. But wealth was never among his goals. He once told a colleague, "Money is just freedom. What matters is what you do with it." At Rothschild, Macron learned the mechanics of influence, how decisions affect markets, how power hides behind politeness. By 2012, he was restless again. The world of private banking was not enough for his ideas. He was ready to return to public life. That same year, France elected François Hollande as president. And Macron, who had gone from philosophy to banking, would soon enter politics in earnest. In 2012, Emmanuel Macron became deputy chief of staff at the Élysée Palace. He was only 34 years old. He advised Holland on economic reforms and European relations. However, he remained a relative unknown even in the corridors of power. He disliked bureaucracy. He disregarded protocol. He spoke from passion rather than policy notes. In 2014, he became the youngest Minister of Economy in French history. He pushed for modernization, digital innovation, and labor reform. But no one had yet seen his real reform. He saw the political system collapsing under its own cynicism. Left and right had lost their meaning. France needed something new, and he had to find it. In 2016, he resigned, stunning all his colleagues. Then, surrounded by friends and idealists in his apartment, he founded his own political movement, En Marche. There was no party structure. There was no political machine. There was only a vision to move France forward. 2017. The world watched as a 39-year-old man, unknown to anyone just 2 years prior, ran for the French presidency. He ran his campaign not on ideology, but on optimism. Neither left nor right, forward. His slogan, Ensemble, La France. Together, France. He spoke of unity and solidarity in a fragmented world, of Europe in a time dominated by nationalism. His youth, ambition, and abstract ideas led people to criticize him. But in debates, he was calm, clear, and compelling. He never raised his voice and always smiled. He inspired more than he argued. On May 7, 2017, Emmanuel Macron won the presidency with 66% of the vote. At 39, he became the youngest leader in modern French history. That night, he walked to the Louvre and addressed the people, under the echoes of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, the anthem of Europe. He stood in front of the glass pyramid, a symbol of transparency and reflection, and declared that France had chosen hope over fear. As president, Macron was not always loved by people and their communities, but he was always someone who was read. Every speech, every movement, every silence carried meaning. He led with his intellect, sometimes too intellectually for a world demanding emotion. He called his approach Jupiterian, away from the noise, governing through reason. For some, he was too arrogant, for others, too visionary. But for Macron, leadership was an art form, the ability to empathize and control, to balance chaos and order. He often quoted philosopher Ricoeur, for whom he once worked as a research assistant. In just institutions, a good life with others and for others. This was his guiding star. It was never about being perfect. It was about understanding the human story behind every decision. Emmanuel Macron's journey is not one filled with privilege, but one filled with determination and conviction. A boy from Amiens who believed words could shape the world. A young man who defied tradition for love. A philosopher who found power not in ideology, but in imagination. He remains a paradox, a thinker who is a leader, an idealist who guides reality. And while history will determine his legacy, his story reminds us of a truth. Sometimes ideas, quiet ideas, born in classrooms and cafes, can move nations.